It's time now for the best hour in MMA and combat sports, the Boomtown Pod. Join your hosts, Andrew Kahn and Cole Smith, as they break down the latest cards, the biggest news, and so much more. Now it's time for the Boomtown Pod.
That is right. It is time for the Boomtown Pod, all things MMA. I am your host, Andrew Kahn. Thank you guys for joining us. I really appreciate you guys coming in on this special edition Wednesday. I know, right? Usually we're here recapping fight cards, doing all that other stuff, but we got a lot to get to today on today's episode because it is all about PAWFC 2, and I'm going to fill you in on all the information when it comes to that. Of course, we couldn't do this episode without our great sponsors at Blue Collar Media Group, Stellar Gear, Sandman Boxing System, and Palace Athena Women's Fighting Championship. Speaking of that, obviously I've been talked about it the other day. PAWFC.com. Get your tickets now. Fight TV if you want to watch it. Hey, if you don't want to travel, I get it. Things happen. You want to watch it? Go ahead, Fight TV. Also, if you want to see it live in person, I know there are tickets available, PAWFC.com. You're going to get the chance to do a lot of crazy cool things, see a lot of absolutely unbelievable women's MMA. The first card was just a tease of what we're going to get in the second. I guarantee it. It's going to be that damn good. Now, with that being said, we do have some special guests that are going to be lined up throughout the show. I am very happy to introduce them one at a time. And that all begins with this girl. And I don't have to really do much of an introduction because if you are an MMA fan, you understand who the hell she is. That is, of course, the one and only, my fellow Canadian, Felicia Spencer. Felicia, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've seen each other, obviously since January, but we have been in communication. I'm so happy to have you back on here. And how's life?
Life has been good. Definitely a lot of things going on. I'm actually sitting in a room that I'm in a house that I'm renovating. So it's like, just one thing after another for me happening this year. So it's really exciting.
A room that you're renovating.
Probably the best highlight is coming back to PAW, though. I'm really excited about this show.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. I mean, we had a phenomenal time during PAWFC 1. I can only imagine what 2 is going to be like. I mean, I felt like the girls brought it the whole time. What do you think? Absolutely.
I mean, it was just excitement. I think there was a couple of decisions even, but even those were just like enthralling. I think my favorite fight of the night ended up being a split decision, that night. So super exciting stuff. I'm so happy and honored to be a part of it.
Yeah. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of stuff that's going on in your life. You've been doing the broadcasting thing. It seems to be taking a lot of your time. You're also doing podcasts yourself. You've been super busy, it seems, with another organization. So, like, where the hell do you get the time to do anything else?
Well, I've been lucky enough to get a few gigs with commentary and some stuff, mostly in Florida, like going down to Miami to do some stuff. A lot of it's been kind of like last minute, just like, hey, we need someone down tomorrow. Can you come? So a lot of it I haven't like needed to invest a lot of time beforehand, even though I would love to be able to do that. So I've been focusing on getting going with that, but also, like I said, I've gotten into, my husband and I bought a rental property that we're fixing up. So kind of like putting our eggs in different baskets now. And, of course, been trying to spend as much time with family as possible. So we're, traveling a lot and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, no, it sounds like retirement life has been pretty damn good for you. So with that being said, like, I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but obviously the commentary thing for you is newer, but you've transitioned very well from fighter to commentary. What would you say has helped you with that the most?
I feel like I was always pretty reflective when I fought. Like after fighting, I would take a lot of time to think about how camp went, this and that, and I don't know. I feel like just having a lot of ideas about preparation and things that can happen in a fight, and I feel like I'm pretty open-minded as far as like my way isn't the only way. So I feel like I can see like different ways to approach defending something or trying to accomplish the same goal of winning, with their each fighter's different style, and kind of looking at the positive, way of doing the same thing different ways, So I don't know. maybe just the open-mindedness and willing to try something new.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, when I kind of picked your brain when we were in Calgary, obviously when we went for supper and stuff like that, I could just tell immediately, like I have a degree in broadcasting and journalism, and I've been doing this for quite some time. I could just pick up right away. Like, even when you joined, you're like, this is your second event. You were like amped, ready to do this, and you just transitioned so well. So I got to give you a ton of props. You were amazing at PWFC 1.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think you're gonna be absolutely tremendous. And at some point, Clayton Belitski will be joining us. That's our second guest. He'll be on with sometime with us, the owner of PAWFC and Women's Fighting Championship, who's putting all this together. But for you, women's MMA has made this like huge turn in the past several years. What does it feel like to be a part of that? And what advice would you give these women coming up?
I always it's kind of a weird thing to think like to be part of something like at the beginning of something because I feel like the women that came before me were that. So it's kind of weird to think of myself as like what they did for me, that I'm doing the same thing for someone else, if that makes any sense. So, I mean, it's an honor. I'm happy that people, when they think of my name, they think of those kinds of things. Like I'm paving a way. Um, I try to, like I said, represent myself in a positive way and just, stay true to myself. And yeah, hopefully, more women. Like one thing that, comes up a lot is that I ended my career what some people would call early, and for me it was perfect. And some people have told me that that took, courage, and that it's kind of inspiring to even see that happen. And maybe more people will, consider their long-term health and in making that decision too. So that's kind of one thing that I guess I kind of hold my hat on. Like, I hope that my decision will help other people be confident in making a similar choice, that whenever that time is right for them, without feeling pressured that a fighter has to prolong their career, as long as most do. So.
Right. I mean, and I think that's like, a lot of conversation that I've had with a lot of people when I came back here, like, oh, you got to see Felicia and get to know her. Why did she retire so early? I said, from our conversations, she did it for the proper reasons. I mean, like you stated too, it was your long-term health, the family aspect of it, being around a little bit more. You've literally fought the who's who of the division. It's not like, you haven't fought these people before. Like, I mean, you fought some of the toughest names ever in the sport. I mean, Megan Anderson, you fought, the Chris Cyborg, who's going to be joining us again at PWFC 1 or 2, which was awesome to meet her at 1 too. So I could feel the tension in the air when you guys were together. Just kidding. Just kidding. But no, it's pretty cool that you got to fight these people. And I just say to everybody, I think she did it the proper way. And I think a lot of people will respect you for that.
Well, it's good to hear. Yeah, I'm glad people feel positive things about the choice I made.
And I mean, honestly, like I know that you have stepped away from that, but you really haven't. I mean, if people follow you on social media, you're still doing some training every now and again. You're still keeping the skills sharp. I mean, do you run your own camp out there?
I'm really just a part of other people's camp, the people that supported me in my career, and even just people that I, have promised for years and years to like go help them out. I was a part of Hannah Goldie's camp for her UFC fight. And then just mostly just within my own gym at the Jungle MMA in Orlando, a lot of the amateur fighters and even the professional fighters there, they've been my training partners for my whole career. So I'm just happy to be able to give it back and, train with them for their fights coming. And a lot less like hard sparring type of stuff, which I didn't do a lot of hard sparring, even in preparation for my fights. But yeah, a little less like getting hit in the head, but still full on. Oops, sorry. Still full on, I'll grapple hard, cage work hard, offer my insight and, show up. So it's kind of crazy being on the other side though, showing up for someone else's camp. And then in the beginning, you're both kind of in similar shape. And then as time goes on, they get better and better. And I just stay the same, So instead of me getting better and better during camp, it feels a little rougher at the end of their camp now.
And hell yeah to not having to cut weight. You can just have fun. So that's another bonus.
I'm just there to, I get to pretend to be someone else. I get to pretend to be this other person that they're fighting, who's a brawler or, a specialist or in one thing or another. So, it's kind of fun to like pretend to not be me and just, try something different that I wouldn't have done in my own camp.
Yeah, and it's cool to have that transition to be just like the pressure's not on you. You're helping out somebody to understand how this works, especially with Hannah Goldie. I mean, that was a great Great. A lot of good lessons I'm sure that you taught her. I mean, patience is obviously a huge virtue, right? And I mean, there's a lot of things that I watched her fight. I was like, it's all right, okay. But I mean, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to having you there. Now, obviously, we talk about PAWFC 1. Now, what does being part of PAWFC 2, that's a tongue twister, try that one fast 5 times, mean to you? Was there one major thing that really stuck out to you after the first event?
I was just so impressed with how the promotion treated all the fighters. Were there hiccups here and there? I'm sure during fight week. I'm sure I didn't luckily have to experience those, but from what I heard from the fighters during the week and especially after the event, after the day after, the 2 days later, even I was still there seeing some of the fighters and asking them how they felt about it. On the airport back, they were like, this was such a great experience. They took such good care of us. They even had the fighters stay an additional day so that they could do one-on-one interviews with all the fighters. And I had never heard of any promotion doing that. So, hats off to PAW for not just saying that they're all about the fighters, but really making everything, not even publicizing how much they're about the fighters and just doing it, So I'm just super impressed with that. And I've heard only good things from the people who were involved with the fighters, and my experience was awesome. So for me, this is, back, years and years ago, I don't even know how many years ago now, when Invicta, the other all women's promotion that started years ago, it was such a big deal for me to be involved with that. And for me, it feels similar. It feels, I'm in a different part of my life and my career now, but it's like the same thing for me. I'm like so excited to be a part of this next chapter and this up and coming organization that I really genuinely am behind. I support what they're doing. I feel really good about being a part of it. So yeah, I'm just super excited to show up and see it go down again.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I think everything was handled unbelievably. Like I know Clayton was supposed to come on; he might jump on later on here, but they handled everything so well. I mean, there was so many restrictions and so many. COVID was still very much a thing. It was everybody was testing. Everybody had to do that part of the sanction and part of the fight schedule was part of their testing. A lot of these girls were at the airport getting randomized testing while they're coming through. I know that now the restrictions are a lot looser, thank goodness. So they shouldn't have as many of those little tiny setbacks. But I mean, that's got to be tough too. I mean, I know there was a couple girls that got delayed at airports and it hung up them or from them fighting. And I mean, what would you say to them? Like, don't be discouraged type thing?
Yeah, I mean, I always want to say, it's just part of the game. It's just part of the fight game, but it really wasn't ever a part of the fight game before, but it is now, So, I mean, you just got to roll with the punches, with whatever happens, and especially with fighting in a different country, a lot of it, most of the girls, or at least half the girls last time were traveling. I think more than half of the girls this time are from outside of Canada. So, it's just something that, you can't let it beat you down, but just give you more drive and more excitement to show up again in the next time you can be in the Palladium. And yeah, I was going somewhere else with that too. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. I always think of it, I've had a lot of fights fall through mostly as an amateur, but I always really held on to the idea that I never wasted a camp, that the skills that you've developed, the habits that you've made, that's staying with you. It's not like you've lost all of those things that you gained during camp. So you just take that with you and bring it on to the next camp, So it's never in vain.
Yeah, no, and again, like you said, it's not really part of the fight world, but it happened at that particular time. I mean, I thought a lot of it was just handled with pure class and professionalism. I mean, obviously the girls were great too, and man, it was a ton of fun. I can only imagine the fun that we're gonna have. I'm actually gonna go an extra day early this time around, get a little bit more acquainted with the old Rocky Mountain air, and maybe see some more scenery. So we'll have to go do dinner or something again.
Absolutely. That sounds like a good time. I'll be there a few days early as well.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks, Felicia, for joining us once again. If people want to follow you on socials, this is actually tremendous. Like, I mean, not every day you get to, interview a UFC alumni. So this is pretty cool. How can people follow you, girl?
Yeah, all the usual platforms, or some of them, I guess, at Phenom479. I had to change my Twitter handle to Phenom_NMF because I'm always coming for that I'm always coming for that belt, the NFF belt. So yeah, you can follow me there, see what's going on, and I'll be sure to post a lot about PAW with my experience there.
Well, can't wait to see you in a couple weeks' time, girl.
All right, see you soon.
All right, see ya. Felicia Spencer joining the podcast. Not every day like you get a UFC alumni, like I said on your podcast. It's pretty cool, though. She was absolutely awesome to deal with. And while we were talking about that, I did say I'd have special guest Clayton Belitski on there. And he's here. What's up, you legend? How you doing? It's Clayton Belitski, the owner of PAWFC.
Andrew, how's it going, my brother?
I am doing absolutely amazing. How's the life over there?
Hectic. busy, but you know, great. You know, moving forwards, and it's good. It's good. It's really great.
So I was going to pick your brain a little bit, but after the first event at PAWFC 1, how excited are you for number 2, my man?
100% more. It's going to be twice as big, twice as exciting, right? And not only, like, I got a lot to talk about this right away, but we're already planning the third one. So we'll talk about that in a bit, though.
Well, we'll keep those rumors on the DL for a stronger time, but that's awesome, man. No, I was saying to Felicia earlier in the podcast, it was a tremendous event. Everything sounded like she just mentioned. Everybody had a great time. I mean, obviously with the COVID restrictions and all that other stuff, it kind of dives into what my next question for you was. It really reared its head at PAWFC 1. You know, some of it was in the room, but how much easier is it as an owner to know that some of those restrictions have lifted and you can run, like you said, the bigger event?
Oh, it's so much easier. I mean, like, I'm not going to get into details, but the restrictions, they're ridiculous. I mean, hard to deal with, ridiculous. Like, it was nonsense, right? So, I mean,
we just went through
it. It is what it is. So we just had to deal with it. We pushed forwards. I mean, like, I think the event was trying to get canceled like 3 times, and I was like, no, it's not. Like, I don't care. It's going forward. So
yeah, I was actually blown away by your persistence on that whole thing, because I remember you and I were talking, and it was pretty much the week up leading to it. And they're like, oh, we can only do 50% capacity. You're like, we're still doing it. I was like, that's the guy I'm rolling with.
Yeah, these girls, like, these fighters, it doesn't matter, like, you know, female or male, but I mean, in this promotion, obviously female, but I mean, like, they train for weeks, if not months, you know, and just to shut them down, right, it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? So it was like, no, that was a big no.
Exactly, man. I think everybody that was there had a tremendous time, even with the reduced capacity crowd. Everything that I've gathered from everyone that I've spoke to at the venue, at the event, the fighters, the camps, everybody literally said it was an absolutely unbelievable event, and that has to go to you and Jenica for putting on an absolutely unbelievable show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Jenica's been my right hand through this whole thing, so, you know, a lot of thanks to her, and I think a lot of the fighters and managers should really appreciate that. Like, she's working every day from 7 a.m. till 3 in the morning. So
I appreciate her daily. I get filled in on all the time. So she's absolutely one of the best to keep us going. So with that being said, when you came up with the idea of PAWFC, did you think it would have such a strong following? Because it's going international, my man.
Yeah, I know it's going international. I don't want to. I'm the kind of person that I don't want to get, like, too hyped up about it, because, you know what I mean. Like, I'm a humble guy, right? I'm not doing this for myself, right? You know what I mean. Like, I'm doing this for the next generation of fighters, right? Like, you know, Andrew, if you know a little bit of my background, like, I was an amateur fighter, you know, 17 years ago when dinosaurs ruled the earth or whatever. I never had the platform or the opportunity to go pro, right? Because of where I lived and stuff like that, you know. So I'm trying to change that for the next generation, so they actually have a platform, they have an opportunity to move forwards. And you know, a lot of people, you know, like, some people want to be welders, some people want to be lawyers, some people want to be fighters, right? So that's what we're trying to create here, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's a kind of a really, really cool concept. And obviously, when we talked at the event too, and like you said, there's not a whole lot of platform to debut an all women's MMA group. So the fact that you did it, has been absolutely unbelievable. And like I said, the following is so strong, man. So again, got to give you guys a ton of props. You are kicking ass and taking names. And as you just heard here, PAWFC 3, don't want to drop anything, don't know anything. It's going to be happening though.
Oh, well, I'll give you a little hint. I'll give you a little hint. Jenica made a trip to Florida, and there's already an office set up there. So that's all I'm going to say.
Wow. Boy, the teasers, Clayton. I like this. This is what we're all about. We got to make sure that people know about this. But yeah, man, honestly, I'm so excited to be part of this. I'm so glad you guys rang up my phone for the second time. This is a tremendous event. I think what you guys got going, I'm a firm believer in. And you have so many talented girls on this roster, man. And it just continues to develop to be an absolutely unbelievable product. And I cannot wait. I'm sure you cannot wait for all of this hard work that you guys have been doing the past several months to accumulate into PAWFC 2. Big show. It's going to be a ton of fun. Anything you want to leave us off with?
Yeah, I just want to just give some thanks to a lot of people here, just real quickly, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I mean, Kieran Kennel from World Cup Canada. He's been, just phenomenal is the word that
amazing human.
Amazing. We had some heavy hitters that joined our team right from the beginning. Starting off with Cyborg, Spencer, and Kaufman. They're there right from the very beginning, and I appreciate that. The company appreciates that, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more coming down the road, and we're welcoming everybody. Like that's just the way it is. And the two fights that I'm especially the first fight that I'm really looking forward to is Croden and Hall, right? For the title fight. Like these two girls are crazy. Right?
Melissa Croden is an absolute warrior. After watching her battle with Jackie McLean, who actually it's funny because both these girls, little teaser for everybody, are both going to be on this podcast tonight. Man, that was an absolute war. It was such a good fight. I thought with the matchmaker, Kieran did an absolutely incredible job making sure that lined up perfectly. And I agree with you, man. That bantamweight title fight is going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be something to watch. So
don't miss
that. Bantamweight fight too, right? Like you can't forget that one. There's two big fights here coming up. So I mean, and these girls are going to be they're going to be watched pretty good. So hopefully the future looks good, bright for all of them, all four of them.
Now, the other thing I was going to mention, too, I know that you guys were talking about it. So Friday night, if you watch any of the PAWFC socials, you'll notice that there's a meet and greet with two legends. How is that all going down?
It's good. I don't have the exact details right now. I've been working on some other stuff. Jenica would be the person to talk about that.
Cool.
At the Hyatt, August 2026.
Sorry, she's actually talking about the
Hyatt. Hi, Jenica.
The Hyatt.
August.
Jenica, come here for a second.
Well,
I know I'm disrupting stuff, but that's okay.
We have a VIP meet and greet with Chris Cyborg and Felicia Spencer on August 27th, 7:30 at the Hyatt Hotel downtown Calgary. It'll, if you want to meet these legends, it's a perfect opportunity.
Very, very cool. Hi, Jenica. Welcome to the podcast. You'll never know who pops by, but all the like we said, a lot of props to her in the background. She does so much work for this organization. Like Clayton said, 7 to 3 a.m. Man, she is on the clock.
7 days a week. 7 days a week.
7 damn days a week. And like I said, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without her. So we appreciate you, Jenica. Thank you so much. With that being said, Clayton, we're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna bring on our next fighter. Thank you for joining us, my man.
Thanks, brother.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, man, it's PAWFC time. Get your tickets now. Fight TV on pay-per-view. You can order it today. Or if you, like I said, want to join us in person, PAWFC.com is where you want to get all of your fighter information. We're going to have fighter bios on there. You can check out all my media links. It's going to be a ton of fun. Now, with that being said, I told you I had another special guest lined up, and this girl is one of my favorites. It is, of course, Andy, the Crazian Win, who is part of PAWFC 1. What's going on, girl?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How's life?
I feel like I've been on training camp nonstop. I really have.
Yeah, you've been one of the busiest fighters that I have seen in the last while. Now, the last time that we saw you at PAWFC, you did have a super strong showing. What did you do for this camp that may have changed from the previous?
I used the elevation mask. I made sure that I was coming in early this time around, like a week early. Thank goodness. Last time I flew in, I landed like Thursday midnight, which is basically Friday, which is basically weigh-in day. And I didn't realize that, I forgot that, Calgary's right next to the Rocky Mountains. My geography is not that great. So, so yeah, I was so gassed, like round 4 or round 3, I couldn't remember. And I was winning the fight. I mean, I thought I was winning the fight. And then she looked gassed too. She was tired too, but she's an armbar artist, so she got me an armbar.
I thought you did pretty great, all things considered. I mean, your striking looked really precise. And like I said to you before we started this podcast, we talked a little bit earlier, I thought you dominated quite well until that 4th round. You got clipped, and I was like, she didn't like that too much. And the next thing, it resulted in an armbar, and I'm sure that's been on your mind for a while now.
It was. I was a little sore loser. I was a little sore loser, and I was like stalking Jenica, and everybody was like, please just give me this one chance. I want a revenge, blah, 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 blah. But, I got it out my system with doing my BKFC debut, and now I'm back to normal.
Good. Now, speaking of that, after PAWFC 1, as we said, you were going to head to Calgary a week earlier. We kind of just talked about it to get acclimated with the air and altitude. Is that still the plan?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm flying in Sunday.
That's a smart transition. I think it's going to pay off huge dividends for you.
Yes.
Because,
Even if it doesn't, then I guess it's not the elevation. Then I guess it's just me and my lungs.
That's hilarious. Now, congrats. Obviously, you just brought it up. Congrats on your successful debut at BKFC. Now, how much of a transition was it to focus on mainly striking instead of a well-rounded MMA camp?
There was plenty of times when my training partner would come towards me and clinch, and I wanted elbow right away, and I can't, so I would push her. I was trying my darn hardest not to kick because I like to kick a lot. It was fun. There's a lot of different things, and this is how combat sports could be fun when you switch it up and be restricted onto other things. And it makes me appreciate boxing more, made me use my head movement more, my angles more, a lot of footwork. It's crazy when you switch just to one sport, and it's been fun. It's been fun being able to switch back and forth.
The hit
in
factor.
a short period of time on each end too.
Yeah, the hit factor. How much more does it hurt?
And my adrenaline is rushing. I don't feel anything until I leave, and then I'm sore. I feel like I've been hit by a truck.
And wore one politely. But no, like you said, it's probably a great thing to learn all those kind of things, especially with the striking aspect of it, where you learn to cut down the angles, like you said. You learn to appreciate counter movements, head movements a lot more, and I'm sure you're going to apply a ton of that to your next fight.
Oh yes, definitely.
So with that being said, I know we were upset earlier in the podcast about not getting the win. Now, if you do win on August 27th, will you be calling out Laura Fontoura for the title to avenge that loss?
I can't tell you that. That's for the fans to find out.
It'll be tremendous. I mean, you are definitely one of the best characters in MMA, and I really look forward to seeing you again. I can't wait to pick your brain. Hopefully, we can get you on after the weigh-ins when you're happy and you're full and you're good to go, and we'll maybe chat before the fight.
Oh yeah, definitely, Andrew. Thanks for having me, and anytime.
Absolutely. The invite will always be there. You're one of my favorites. So appreciate you jumping on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Andy Wynn, everybody. The Crazian. She is the best. She is so much fun. Like I said, when we had that first event, she was a huge part of it, and she was in the main event. And her and Laura Fontoura had an absolutely amazing fight. 4 rounds of pure action. At times it was Andy's fight. At times it was Laura's fight, and it just went back and forth the entire time. It was a tremendous display. the entire time. Now, if you have missed any of the announcements so far, obviously PAWFC.com is where you want to get your tickets right now. Fight TV, if you can't make it or be there in person, it's available on pay-per-view. I know I have a schwack ton of buddies back here at home that are like, let's do this, cannot wait. And yeah, man, it was a huge draw for them, a successful debut, and I know PAWFC 2 is going to continue to just climb and climb. And as you heard from Clayton Belitski, the owner of the group, it's only going to get better and bigger, and PAWFC 3 is in the works, which gets me going. I am super excited about all of this. But yeah, man, honestly, the event is a tremendous, tremendous time. So if you want to be there in person, have an unbelievable time, watch amazingly great fights, competition at the next tier of level, you need to come down to Calgary, August 27th, PAWFC.com. Get your tickets. We're just waiting for a couple of our other fighters to join us, and I cannot wait for that. With that being said, I just want to make a couple of quick thank yous before we start, or before we go into our next interview. Hey, we got to thank again Jenica for setting all of us up. She's been a tremendous help through the entire thing. She gave us a list of our main card. I can't wait to break that down for you guys in a couple of seconds' time. Also, I got to thank, of course, Clayton and the entire group at PAWFC for having us on for the second time. I'll be ringside commentary. We had a ton of fun. Ryan Valentine, myself, and Felicia Spencer. Also, thank you, Felicia, for jumping on the podcast today. Like I said, not every day you get a UFC alumni that comes on the show. Speaking of, we did break it down for you guys. You can get VIP tickets for the Friday night, which is going to be a ton of fun. Also, should mention that this is kind of cool. I noticed this today on Cyborg socials. She's going to be fighting Simone Silva, who is also a part of PAWFC 1 when she fought Dakota Dacheva. They're going to be having an amateur boxing fight. So it's crazy how the world works, man. It really is. And like I said, the last podcast, it was really, really cool for Simone Silva to come up to us after the fight. She didn't have the grace of English, but she told me straight up, I'm good boxer. And she showed me some of her footage, and she is a Golden Glove boxer. The girl hits hard. She's a tremendous athlete. And like I said, she is one of a kind. That is for damn sure. With that being said, we got the main card announcement today. Got it inside the old inbox. So with that being said, we'll break down some of the fights for you. The first one that's going to kick off the main card. We're going to have Jackie McLean taking on Veronica Azer, which is going to be a really good one. Jackie McLean's second trip down to the Palladium. She is a fierce competitor, a ton of heart, goes forward the whole time, and I really look forward to seeing what she does in her second event. It's going to be a ton of fun. Of course, our guest that we just had, Andy Wynn, she's going to be taking on Larissa Carvalho. Again, another ton of this is a fun fight. Andy from Jacksonville, and then we've got Larissa all the way from Brazil. Like I said, these cards mean a lot to these girls because, again, with the restrictions and stuff like that, there wasn't easy travel. There wasn't the accessibility to have fights whenever they kind of wanted to. So now we've got an organization that really firmly believes in this. And these girls believe in it too, which is absolutely amazing. So it's going to be cool to see. In our co-main event, one of our special guests that came on our last podcast, Anastasia Nikolakos, was with us, and she's fighting out of North York, Ontario, out here in Canada, by way of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu out in Bolton. She was awesome, man. If you missed our interview, jump on that. Check that out. She is a ton of fun. This is an atomweight title fight. She's going to be taking on a girl who was supposed to be at our fight the last time around. But again, COVID reared its head. It was kind of weird. And that's, of course, Alessandra Vieira, who will be there as well. I cannot wait for her to be a part of this. It's going to be a ton of fun. Yeah, she is. This matchup is going to be fun. Of course, like I said, with Anastasia, she said, I am a person who believes that going forward, having fun, doing this is what I love doing. And she went back to her home gym to set all of this up. So I know that she is thoroughly excited for this. That is for damn sure. And like I said, with Alessandra, I can't wait to really pick her brain about this because this was a big opportunity for her. And she's in the co-main spot for the atom weight title. And that gets us to our main event of the evening, which in a few minutes time, I'll be introducing to you and having her on the podcast, Melissa Croden from Blairmore, Alberta, Canada, of course, by way training out at her gym in Crow's Nest Pass. She is awesome. She had one of the biggest wins on the card. Her and Jackie McLean had an absolutely unbelievable tilt, and now she's getting a title shot, and it deservingly so. It was a hell of a finish. If you want to go watch it, highlights are on the PAWFC YouTube channel. Don't miss it. Also check out PAWFC's Facebook which you can also see all of these clips on as well. The media team does a tremendous job of getting you hyped up. And she's going to be taking on Cornelia Holm, which is going to be a ton of fun. She is fighting out of Sweden. That's a bit of a stretch. Hell of a drive. But she's going to have a great debut when she makes her PAWFC debut in the Palladium, taking on Melissa Croden. Like I said, Melissa should be joining us in a few minutes' time. I'm hoping she's got time for us still today. And like I said, this card is a ton of fun. Make sure to get your tickets, PAWFC.com. Make sure, can't say it enough, if you can't be there, Fight TV. Got to, tremendous people over there. You can get your pay-per-view there or order today. Like I said, be there. I mean, as I said when we had Clayton on earlier, he is promising one hell of a show. And if I know anything about that man, it will be one hell of a show. That will be for real. I cannot wait. There's a lot of things that go behind the scenes. Like you said, props to Kieran, who, does a ton of work for us. It does a ton of matchmaking. He's always on the go. I got to talk to him at PAWFC 1. The man is a legend of the sport, just a hard working individual. That is all I can say. Also, we got to give some love to Nick Ryan. I mean, there's a ton of people that we need to give a lot of love to behind the scenes. Another one of those great individuals that definitely deserves that. That is for sure. Like I said, just waiting, hoping that, we get joined by Melissa Croden and, of course, Jackie McLean. These things are usually a little bit harder to do. And the only reason why is the time differentials. It's always a little messy, but I mean, it happens. But nonetheless, they're two great individuals, and I really hope that they come on. And I just want to say again, quick thank you to everybody that jumped on the podcast today, including Andy Wynn, who is just a tremendous athlete, tremendous person. If you missed her Bare Knuckle Fight Club debut, she had that. Now she's back in the Palladium for round 2, and then she's going to gear up for another. She had another fight announcement. She's like, the girl doesn't rest, man. You think at this point she'd get a little sleep in, but she doesn't. And then, of course, our great guest, Felicia Spencer. It's not every day that you get to interview somebody who's fought Amanda Nunes. Felicia has done that and also went toe-to-toe with Chris Cyborg, one of the biggest, baddest bitches in the world, man. That was an entirely great fight. It was crazy good the entire time. And also somebody who has a win over Megan Anderson, who also was in the top 5 of that division. So Felicia really did Canada proud the entire time that she was part of the UFC. And like she alluded to, when she retired and make the decision early, hey, what are you, I'm at the best peak, best part of my life. I'm going to settle down, have my family ready to go. And she's out in Florida now. She's living out there. She still trains with her crew of friends, and she's still, still doing all of that stuff too, which is absolutely unbelievable. So she is a talent in her own. She's been doing a ton of commentary stuff. She also runs, a podcast. She's been doing work with Fight Bananas where she makes her Phenom picks. Shout out to Fight Bananas. There's no bad love. I will never say bad love in the podcast world. So they do great stuff over there too. And like I said, she is a big part of that. So make sure you follow her on all her socials, like she stated earlier in the podcast. Like I said, just gearing up and waiting for Melissa Croden and Jackie McLean to be joining us. It shouldn't be very much longer. Like I said, it's weird how these time slots and things happen like that. But nonetheless, like I said, if you missed any of the announcements, make sure to go to PAWFC.com. That's going to have all your list of the fighters. That's going to have your list of where to buy your pay-per-view, where to get your tickets from. I know tickets are going pretty damn well right now. So again, in Calgary in August, it's the end of summer. Come have fun. That's what this is all about. Watching girls kick ass, dominate, make their name in this industry. And like I said, when Clayton alluded to it, you never know what's going to happen in the future for these girls. But this right now is the opportunity of a lifetime for them. And they want to make well on it. And you do not want to miss it. Because I mean, realistically, I know that there is 10 cards or 10 fights lined up on this card right now. That's a ton of action, folks, that you do not want to miss at all in the slightest. And it is going to be, like I said, a tremendous event. And these guys work hard, man. They work. Honestly, I set up a ring for the first time in my life to help out. I didn't know what I was doing. Can't say I can be the strongest ring setup guy in the world, but I can add it to the resume. It was a ton of fun just to help out and be a part of everything, like I said, and getting to know a lot of these girls behind the scenes as well. And a big shout out to another one that I really got to meet her and her family was Alyssa Cotterell, who will also be on the card making her amateur debut. She messaged me the other day, and she is so excited to actually get in the Palladium and do her thing. It feels like last time one of her opponents wasn't able to make it, had to pull out, and now she's getting ready for that again. And she is beyond excited, beyond prepared, and ready to go to war. And she is ready to make a name for herself in the Palladium. And believe me, her whole camp and her whole family and everybody that I got to meet that whole time was just tremendous people to deal with. It's really cool behind the scenes when you get to meet all these fighters and really get to pick their brains, because when we watch it, we just think, hey, it's two girls going at it. We don't really know them, but then you get to know them personally with a little bit of a human element to it, and you get to really know who they are. And man, ton of fun. And I know Elise is ready to bring it. So shout out to her. And thanks for reaching out to us the other day. That was really, really cool on her part. But yeah, things continue to build for this card. Like I said, 10 huge fights. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be jam-packed atmosphere the entire time. Again, if you missed the main card announcement, the first fight that's going to be kicking off is going to be Jackie McLean versus Weronika Ezer. And she's coming all the way from Poland. Man, you want to talk about some drives, my friends. Those are some serious airport rides, and we can't wait to have them at the Palladium, making her debut there out of Puncher Gym, which is going to be awesome. If you want to follow her on her socials, you can do so on her Instagram at Wera_Ezer. Should be a ton of fun. Again, we had her on the show earlier, Andy Wynn. She's going to be, of course, fighting out of Jacksonville. That is a ways away from Calgary, Alberta, and she's going to be down here on Sunday getting reacclimated with the altitude and stuff like that, which she said was a bit of a fear for her the last fight. And she's, of course, fighting out of Combat Club, Martial Arts and Fitness Edge MMC. And if you want to follow her, do so, because she's always active. You can see her on Instagram at Andy the Crazian One. She is so much fun, man. Definitely one of my favorite people to interview. Larissa, of course, Carvalho will be her opponent, and she's going to be fighting out of Santa Catarina, Brazil. Yeah, like I said, man, these girls are committed. You should be too. PAWFC.com. And she's going to be fighting, of course, out of Marifiga Thai. And if you want to follow her, her socials are also really, really strong at Larissa M.A. Lavaldez. So there you go. The third fight, of course, will be our co-main event of the evening. We're going to be seeing an atomweight title fight with Alessandria Vieira Oliveira, and it's going to be a ton of fun. She's fighting out of Brazil, of course, by way of MB Jiu-Jitsu Brasilio, and I can't wait to see her. If you want to follow her on Instagram, you can do so at Lil_Vieira MMA, and she's going to be taking on Anastasia Nikolakakos, who I definitely had on the podcast this week. She is absolutely awesome. She's fighting out of Ontario, which is sweet, by way of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Bolton. If you want to follow her, you can follow her at Team Animale, and she's also super active on her socials, which is awesome. That's for the co-main atomweight title. 2 title fights, one night. The main event, Melissa Croden taking on Cornelia Home. Melissa Scare Croden fighting out of Blairmore, Alberta. Cannot wait. Kind of in her own backyard, if you will. Of course, she's fighting out of Crow's Nest Past Martial Arts. If you want to follow her on Instagram, you can do so at Scare Croden. She is a phenomenal talent. I got to meet her and, again, pick her brain a little bit while we were at the event at PAWFC 1. Man, she's a complete package. Her hands were unbelievable. The choke that she got on Jackie was unbelievable. She is just a fierce talent, deserving of this title fight that takes place in the main event when she takes on, again, Cornelia Holm, fighting out of Gothenburg, Sweden. She's fighting out of her gym of the way of GBG Mac, Gothenburg Martial Arts Center. And if you want to follow her, you can do so on her Instagram as well at CONNY Future. Connie Future. Kind of how it sounds. So make sure to follow all of these ladies, man. Your guys' support pushes them through the roof. And I also want to give some love out to another PAWFC alumni, which is Maria Jukic. Man, she just had her first ever big card fight. She didn't come up the winner, but that girl is tough as hell, and I know she's going to bounce back. She's been working with Melissa Croden as well in her camp, something that I hopefully get to talk to Melissa to and about. She should be here and on, I'm hoping, in the next 2 to 3 minutes. If not, hey, no big deal. We'll definitely get to try to chat with Melissa when we have the opportunity to do so. But she is, like I said, a shout out to Sweet Maria Jukic. She was absolutely killer. Her and her fight with Clarice Ignulo was probably one of my favorite fights, if not the. You guys voted on it. It was fight of the night, right? So they brought the fireworks, they brought the explosions, and that's what you can expect with these cards. This is a ton of fun. And I'm telling you, you do not want to miss a second of the action because, as Clayton alluded to earlier, it's just bigger and better, and it's only going to continue to be that way inside the Palladium. PAWFC.com. Get your tickets now. And again, Fight TV on pay-per-view. If you do not order today, order tomorrow. And if you didn't order today, you should have ordered yesterday. But nonetheless, this is a ton of fun, man. And like I said, you can see the poster behind me. I got to meet, again, shout out to Chris Cyborg. I know I bring her up in almost every one of my podcasts. That's how relevant this girl has stayed throughout her entire career. She's never disappeared. And honestly, so many people have feared her for so long. And they're like, oh, she must be the scariest person. And then when you meet her, she's the biggest sweetheart. It completely changes your mind because inside either the Palladium or the Octagon, that girl is an absolute killer who has destroyed everybody. So, I mean, there's no other person in the world that's ever been a 4-time champ in four different organizations. It's just never happened before. And like I said, it's really cool to see her post on her socials that she's going to take her amateur boxing debut against a girl, again, that was part of PAWFC 1 in Simone Silva. So 2 really respected Brazilian girls that are going to go head-to-head on that, and I'm really looking forward to seeing her amateur boxing debut. As you all know, Chris Cyborg has been just chomping at the bit to fight absolutely anybody when it comes to boxing. It just seems that all of her socials lately have been targeted towards that. Now, of course, she is the Bellator Women's MMA champ, but she's not ruling out boxing. And believe me when I tell you that if that girl is designed and desired to do something and wired to do so, she's going to do it. Chris Cyborg is absolutely one of the best talents, and you can actually have the chance to meet her at PAWFC 2 with the VIP meet and greet. You'll also get the chance to pick the brain of Felicia Spencer. Like I said, I'm so glad she got to join the podcast with us. It's not every day that a UFC alumni who, again, has fought everybody gets to jump on your podcast. Now, with that being said, I'm hoping that these girls sign in the next couple of minutes here. I don't want to dry you out with some standardized content, but again, PAWFC.com. Go get your tickets now. You do not want to miss it. Fight TV on pay-per-view. Make sure to follow these people's socials as well. PAWFC has an incredibly strong social media presence. Their Instagram is absolutely unbelievable at PAWFC MMA. Like it's constantly going, and I'm here for it. Because social media is literally the way of the world. That's how my podcast got out there. That's how I got to be part of PAWFC. And I honestly can't thank Clayton and crew enough for having me again for number 2 being ringside commentary. I live for the sport. The sport is everything I do, man. It is everything I watch. And for the last 16 years, I've been passionate about this brand. So the fact that I get to do this and do this for all y'all is absolutely one of my favorite things in the world. With that being said, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to make it. We're just about queuing up to wrap up. I haven't had any text or anything like that. So with that being said, I'm going to cut it out here, guys. I thank you so much for joining us. Of course, this is the Boomtown Pod, your home for all things MMA. Don't forget, I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. PAWFC.com. Get your tickets now. Fight TV on pay-per-view. Order today. And again, thank you to our guest, Clayton Belitski, the owner of PAWFC, Felicia Spencer, UFC alumni, and of course, the girl who's going to be fighting the second fight on the main card, Andy the Crazian Win. You guys have yourselves a fantastic evening. Until then, cheers.